Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I am proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So I'm going to show this again. I've shown this so many times where Oprah asks Michael if he's a virgin. But it's one of these things that as you dig deeper into the understanding of what is occurring here, it just keeps opening up doors and stuff, right? And it's like Alice through the looking glass, you know? It's like you're looking at a mirror, but then you go through the mirror and there's this whole other universe and this whole other world that's going there, right? So that's one of the things that's like, you got to dig deeper, you got to dig deep to find the true answers, you know? And the one thing about, it's just, this one keeps bugging me, that the fact that she asked Michael Jackson. Now, that's Michael Jackson. Like, without me looking at the specific dates, I think this was in 93. So let's assume that Michael's around a 35-year-old man. 35 years old. So 35 years old, and let's say he became a star, let's say at 10. Let's just say at 10, okay? Okay, so so for 25 years of his life, he's been a star. A big star. Okay, so 25 years of being on the road, having access to women just throwing themselves at him, and having older brothers who he sees taking advantage of that situation. Okay, we all know that his older brothers were acting normal in that situation. They're stars, they're out on the road, they got hotel rooms, they got women just throwing themselves at them, and so what are the Jackson brothers doing? They're fucking those bitches. They're fucking them and shit, right? But so the thing is, like with Michael, it's like, how's it possible that Michael, because there's women that are just smoking hot beautiful. There's women that they are so fucking pretty. I mean, and they're so soft, right? And they got my hump, my hump, my hump, my hump, my lovely lady lumps and shit, right? They got those bumps and shit, and they're all soft, and they are fucking beautiful. And how do you avoid that? How could you have avoided that for all of this time? Right? How is it possible and shit, right? And that's why I keep digging into this thing about the fact that Michael's a virgin. And it's like, how could Michael possibly have been a virgin? This is the thing that's like nobody could ever understand. And it's the thing is how he gives that answer about him being a gentleman. And it's like, well, Michael, so what are you saying? You don't want to offend the fans, or you don't want to shock the fans by telling them that... And he didn't have to name the woman of who he's been having sex with. All he had to do is say, no, I'm not a virgin. And he said, no, I'm a gentleman. And it's like, but none of the fans believe that he's a virgin. Like I said, I've spoken to him. All the fans call me a fucking idiot. All of them. They say, you're so stupid to think Michael Jackson's a virgin. You're an idiot. So it's like, so Michael trying to portray himself as a gentleman by not speaking about his sexual encounters, when all of the fans are just putting their ideas about him having all these sexual encounters. So there's nothing about the fans there. There is no reason for him to like not want to like traumatize the fans or to ruin their image of what they think about him. It just doesn't exist because all the fans already think he's having sex with all these girls, right? So his gentleman, it's just total fucking bullshit, right? As I'm saying, when you actually get into this one little thing, it opens up this whole, it's like you're Alice through the looking glass now, right? Once you start digging into this one little thing, right? And it's this thing is like, I can make these videos and all this stuff, right? But when it comes down to it, I can also expose the whole story off of this one little thing. This one thing, right? So we're going to get into this a little bit more. I'm going to talk about this some more. But I wanted to mention, the reason I use Matt's FTR as an example is because I want to show clearly what the example of is a guy who speaks about himself like he's intelligent, and he speaks about himself like he's a Michael Jackson fan. He speaks about himself like he cares about world and everything like that, right? So I constantly am using Matt's FTR as an example because he like defines like idiot. Like if you want to say like idiot, bad person, fucking totally disrespectful to the whole fucking society and culture, it's like Matt's FTR totally encompasses that fucking definition of being an idiot, loser, fucking total fraud. He's exactly what the system wants him to be. He like Matt's FTR doesn't even know that he's an SJW. All that stuff about what he's talking about, he's fighting for these rights and all that. Okay, well, that means you're a social justice warrior. It doesn't matter that if you're on the right side or and the other people are on the left, That doesn't matter. What matters is you are fighting for the rights. You have a social justice. That's exactly what you're doing. Matt's FTR is a SJW, but he's on this side, and it's like, well, that's what the government wants these two opposing opinions fighting against each other, and then they all claim that they act like they know what's going on. And what it is they create the conversation, and that's what's actually going on, is that the government wants the conversation to be created by idiots. And right? So then you get a person like me, and I come in and I try and have a conversation about Michael Jackson's real parents being Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, and nobody wants to have that conversation because you can't have that conversation with the idiots that exist, like with these SJW warriors like Matt's FTR. He is that. He's just the other side of the same conversation. That's what the government has done. They created the conversation. Matt is speaking about the conversation that has been created for him to speak about. And then he portrays himself as an SJW and says, I'm better than you because I know this and I know this and that makes me better. You're the same exact way. Your argument is identical to the people that you hate, the SJW warriors, people that he is constantly attacking and stuff. He's identical to them and he doesn't even know it. Okay? So that's what I want to show you is like, Matt's FTR is the lowest of the low. His opinion is crap. He has no opinion. He does not have an opinion. He can't think for himself. He does not like you. Matt's FTR hates Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson has talent. Michael Jackson had opportunity. Michael Jackson can have sex with any woman he wants. Matt's FTR hates Michael Jackson. Matt's FTR is no talent loser. He can't have sex with the women he wants. He's got no success, no money, no accomplishments in his life. Matt's FTR is a total loser, and when you're a total fucking loser like that who thinks that he's smarter than everybody, I can damn well guarantee you that Matt's FTR hated Michael Jackson. That's why he had to go. Matt's FTR thinks, look at, Michael Jackson's not special. Look at me. I'll put on the Michael Jackson clothes and I'll dance around. Look at me. I'm just as good as him. That's what he thinks in his head. Matt's FTR is such a loser. He's like, it's like, dude, do you not understand how good Michael Jackson is? You obviously don't, because I can see that you dance around and you think you're as good as you think you could have been him. You never could have been a Michael Jackson. You could dance for 40 years, you dance style, and it would never have looked as good as Michael Jackson. That's all there is to it. And so, the other day, when Matt was doing his reaction video to the video I had made about him, calling him a pedo and all his friends, saying that they're all pedophiles and homosexuals and shit, right? He just randomly brought something out. He had said this thing about, there's this artist named Jackson Pollock, right? And he had said that Jackson Pollock, he was saying like, that's like he's like, that's not art. He's like saying, that's not art. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. This is the social justice warrior, Matt's FTR. Matt's FTR is saying that his opinion is more valid than all of the people around the world who are saying that there's something special about Jackson Pollock's art, and it's so special that we'll put him up there with the Da Vinci's, and the Picassos. They're saying that Jackson Pollock stuff is as good as that stuff. The people who actually know what art is, those people say that Jackson Pollock stuff is as good as the best stuff that has ever been done. And Matt's FTR said, no, I invalidate all of your expert opinions because of my opinion as a social justice warrior. I don't see it. That's what Matt says. And so Matt then, instead of trying to understand what is it that they are seeing, Matt just credits all of them and then lifts him up as he's some kind of superior creature in this world, just like the SJWs do. That's what he is, right? But the whole point is, like I said, I didn't want to go back and search because I watched it. I'm not going to go back and search and find that piece and shit. But that's what he said. Matt's FTR said Jackson Pollock is no artist, and he said his work sucks, and he said all of his work looks the same. That was his opinion. Okay, that was his insight into art. So, he doesn't know what art is. He can't give an opinion about it because he doesn't see anything there. And why? Because like I tell you, he's got a dead brain. He's got a dead soul. He can't think for himself. The only opinions of what he can give are the opinions that were already inserted into his head. They did it for him. They created his opinion. They did everything for him. He does nothing. He has no opinion. He has no original thought. He has no fucking value in this world and shit, right? He's dead. He's killed himself off and shit, right? He's allowed his brain to die. He's allowed his soul to die. And we know that he's got a dead brain and a dead soul because when he looked at Jackson Pollock's work, he saw nothing. That's because you have a dead soul and you got a dead brain. I don't need to prove anything more. You couldn't see anything. Why? Because you've got a dead brain, you got a dead soul. So let me show you something here really quick. Now these are what they call spiral galaxies, right? Now, don't they all look the same? Like, I'm going to show you some Jackson Pollock here. Like, let me show you, like, just really quick. So, here's some Jackson Pollock paintings, right? Okay, see how they're kind of similar? I mean, they're totally different. They're not even close to this, but they're similar in the style. You can tell from the style of the painting that that's probably a Pollock, okay? That's how they're similar, but they're completely different and shit, right? But so, Matt's saying, oh, they all look the same and shit, right? Okay, well, don't these all look the same? But isn't the explanation of what, and so like, and I'm saying, just for the sake of argument, just so you know, is like, I'm not 100% convinced that we are a planet circling around the sun anymore. I'm not 100% convinced of that. I think it's a very good conversation that should be had, is that if this is a flat Earth and that the whole universe revolves around us and shit, right? Because look at the difference of the perception about who you are. See, what they're trying to do is make you feel insignificant. Because if they take you and they say, you're just an insignificant dot spinning around on one of these little stars, spinning around the sun in this galaxy that's just one galaxy in a massive universe, right? That makes you feel very insignificant. Okay, but if you change it and you actually find out that this place is flat and all of that galaxy stuff is revolving around us, that makes me feel a lot more significant and special and shit, right? So that's just like the concept of how the perception of something can totally take away the value of yourself. If you think that you're just a dot spinning around there, you feel insignificant. That's the value. They've taken away all your self-worth and all your value by just putting a little thought into your head. Okay, but if you're on a flat Earth and all of this stuff does exist, but all of that stuff revolves around us, and everybody, they want to come visit us and shit. Everybody's coming down here to check on us and all the aliens and all that stuff. So it's like, it makes me feel a lot more significant and important in that, in that concept and stuff. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe, and that's why they don't want us to think. Maybe that's why they created this concept, because they wanted you to feel insignificant, because that's like a trick of the devil and shit, right? But so like, let's just use this concept that there's a galaxy there and we're on Earth, right? So on this concept, it's like, okay, you look at the galaxy, right? And if you look at it from afar and you're looking at it, then that's what you see as a galaxy. But as you dive into the galaxy and then you go in there, then you would find out that there's planets, and on the planets there's an immense amount of diversity. Like, just look at on the planet Earth. Like, you can have the desert and you can have the Antarctic. Completely opposite, polar opposites and shit, right? And you can be like on the flat ground in like the Utah salt flats and shit, or you can be up in the fucking mountains, up on the fucking biggest mountain in the world and shit, right? Completely total opposites. What is actually taking place here is amazing. There's so much diversity and shit, right? But if you're looking at it from afar, like what Matt's FTR, when Matt's FTR looks at the Jackson Pollock, he just looks at it like from this angle. He sees it from this angle and he says, oh, that's who cares about what's taking place is like, what you would say is like inside one of those galaxies, and it would be the Earth. Okay, so on the Earth, you had every human being that has ever existed, on the planet took place on just one little dot within that galaxy and shit, right? It's just mind-boggling shit, right? But you got to go into it to actually see and understand what's taking place and shit, right? So now, when you're speaking about art, if I told you to paint me a picture of what the universe looked like in its like primordial state, in the beginnings of the state of creation, in the beginning state of the creation of God and Satan and the universe and all of this stuff. If I told you to paint that for me, how would you paint that? What would it look like? This is what Matt's FTR has no idea of what he's talking about. He doesn't know what art is. He has no way of how to speak about it and what's actually taking place, right? So now, Matt's FTR just sees a bunch of, he thinks that's like a kid's painting, right? Because he doesn't know art. But when I see it, what I see is the beginnings of the creation of the universe. Okay? And in the beginnings of the creation of the universe, maybe this is what it looks like. That's what art is. Which means, without me going into detail and explaining, just enough of me explaining of what I did, when I explained to you that when I see that, what I see is, I see the universe in its infant state. Like, right? It's in its infant state before it's formed, before God and Satan have developed. I see this like battle taking place in its like primitive form and shit, right? That's what I see when I see a Jackson Pollock. And if I want to go into those paintings, I could like it just like the galaxy. You're looking at it from afar, but if you actually want to go into those paintings, you'll see that there's a lot more. And there's a lot more of complexity and diversity. And these paintings, they hold a lot more within them. Like each one of these paintings is its own little spiral galaxy. Okay, so Matt's FTR can't see any of that stuff because he has no brain. He's got a dead brain and he's got a dead soul, right? I just wanted to show you that really quick, just to give you a little art lesson and shit. And so, like, my interpretation of that is, like I said, I've never studied art. I've never studied Jackson Pollock. I just gave you a very raw, emotional, just real opinion about what I see there. Because I clearly know that Matt's interpretation is the worst of worst and shit. So when I just looked at it, it's like, well, what do I see? Oh, I see the beginnings of the creation of the whole universe and shit, right? And it's like, that's what I ask you. It's like, if you ask Matt, go paint to me what the beginnings of the creation of the universe looks like and the development of God and Satan and everything that exists in our world today. Go paint that for me. Okay, and so the fact that Jackson Pollock painted that stuff and could do something that can represent that, and it's like, dude, now do you see why people are putting him on the levels of like a Da Vinci and Picasso? That's why he's up there. That's what art is. And people that understand art, they appreciate it. And they know it's priceless and shit. And it's so precious and rare. And it's so uniquely individual to this human being who is able to fucking, to portray that fucking message through these images and shit, right? See, Matt FTR doesn't know anything about art because he has no brain. He has no soul. He doesn't feel any connection. He has no understanding of the true human existence and stuff and the knowledge and what's actually going on. And that's why he has no opinions about it. So instead of him acknowledging his own weaknesses and acknowledging that he's the problem, that it's his brain that fucking sucks, he demands that you denounce the people with talent. I mean, that's like the lowest form. That's what I'm saying. It's like Matt's the lowest. He's like the Satan. He is Satan. He's the lowest of the low. Satan would be that Satan can't understand the mind of God. So instead of Satan understanding, look at, I'm inferior to God. God's better than me. Maybe I should give God some respect and give it a little bit of time and effort, and maybe I'll see what's actually going on. Instead of understanding that you're the problem, no, Satan puts the problem on. No, it's God. He's the problem. It's him. He's the problem. It's not me. It's him. That's what they all do, just like Matt's FTR, just like Satan, just like the total fucking loser he is. And that's why Matt's FTR could never ever understand who Michael Jackson was. First of all, Matt's FTR doesn't like Michael Jackson. And then second of all, Matt's FTR doesn't understand language and artistic people, doesn't understand any of that stuff, doesn't understand what's important, he understands nothing. And that's what I'm saying is that these people that run around like and talking to Matt's FTR, you're all total fucking idiots too. Like a person like Joey Moonwalking Kingdom. I mean, you're talking about like, that dude is as stupid as fuck. I mean, he's the lowest of the low. He's a total dirtbag piece of shit. Total fucking loser. He is a disgusting fucking human being. Did you see this new video? I watched Joey's video. He was saying, let's have no negativity. Of course you don't want, you call it negativity, but what it is, it's just like the thing with Satan and God. It's Satan saying, I don't like what you're saying. You're telling me I'm not as good as you. You're telling me I have to be patient and I got to be humbled and to learn. And then so that's what they say. They say, you're negative. And then they put this label. You're negative. You're not helping me. You're a big old meanie and shit, God. And then so that's what I'm saying. These are satanic points of view. So anybody that ever comes out and labels you to tell you that you can't be negative, that's Satan worship. Because that's what Satan does. Where anybody else would tell you, I want to be challenged. God's mind says, challenge me. challenge me. I want to hear your opinion. If you have a quality opinion, I want to hear it, because that'll just advance me. If you can enlighten me to give me a new, fresh point of view about something else, then you've just made me better. So why would I tell you not to bring your negative shit to me? Because that can help enlighten me to show me something I haven't seen before. Because I'm not offended by, if you're just sitting there just making stupid derogatory statements about me, then there's nothing there. But if you're actually giving an opinion, and then so it's like, so I'm not allowed to give you an opinion, so any opinion I give to you that you don't understand and you don't agree with, you're instantly going to label that as negative? You're a fucking loser, Joey Moonwalking Kingdom. Any loser like Joey Moonwalking Kingdom who comes out and says, we need positivity in this community. Okay, you're all losers. And that's what they say. It says, misery loves company. Okay, so that's what the Joey Moonwalker King, these are all Satan worshippers and shit. They're miserable, total, disgusting piece of shit losers on this planet. And they want everybody else, they love company. They want everybody else to dwell in their misery and shit, right? They're losers. They don't encourage you to have thoughts. They don't encourage you to challenge the norms of society, to break the barriers. They don't fucking challenge you to do nothing. They fucking say, I don't like the way you speak. You're negative. Get out of here. We don't want you here. It's like, you can't see, Joey, that you're the negative one? You're the one placing fucking orders and commanding people to shut the fuck up and not be themselves and not explore who they are to get better understandings and to make advancements? That's what you're demanding of people. You're the most negative piece of shit in here. You fucking satanic loser, fake fan, motherfucking pedophile. Motherfucker. So, we'll get back to the Michael Jackson thing. Now, what I've just been dwelling on this thing for a long time, I was going to pull up that clip from the movie The National Treasure, where he says that Thomas Edison had 1,000 ways to discover the light bulb, but he says, like, and that's what he says. He says, no. He says, Thomas Edison says, I didn't fail at making the light bulb. He says, I found 1,000 ways how to not make a light bulb, right? And so that's how it goes, because he can tell you. He could say, no, you can't use this process. He says, I've done that. And he says, what happens is when you do that, it leads to this and this. So that was an advancement. Even though he failed at making the light bulb, he still made advancements in technology and his understanding of the bigger picture. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I do. I come in here and it's like, I'm not failing 1,000 times at proving that Michael Jackson is the son of Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson. I haven't failed 1,000 times. I've made advancements. I've constantly made advancements in having better understandings of these stories and shit, right? So I can further my development so I can get to the truth and shit, right? That's how it works and shit. So this part right here, like I said, I've talked about a lot, but it's a thing that just keeps coming at me, because it's like, I don't need to show everything and all the stuff, because this one piece right here with the proof that Michael Jackson is a virgin at the age of 35 right here changes the whole dynamic of the Michael Jackson situation. There's something completely fucking different. And now but see, that's the way, it's like, the people couldn't understand what it was, because the truth is that Michael wasn't a Jackson. They never could go there. But so the people altered their fucking perception of Michael Jackson. Instead of him being a ladies' man, they just said, oh, well, he must be a pedophile then. He must be a pedophile. Right? Because they don't know how to think on their own. They have no fucking concept that they can understand the larger picture of what's taking place here and shit, right? They can't understand it, so they go to the most simplest things. Oh, well, he must be fucking kids. If he ain't fucking girls, well, he's hanging around kids, he must be fucking them kids then. That's what Oprah did. Even a sophisticated person like Oprah, she made that transition. She didn't see Michael Jackson having sex with women, and then she proved that Michael Jackson not having sex with women. So then once she knew that, when she tried to have an understanding of who this guy was, then she said, well, who is he hanging around with? He's hanging around with kids. Oh, I must be having sex with kids then. And then so she started labeling him as a pedophile. Wrong. She's wrong again. She didn't know, she couldn't understand the true nature of what was taking place and see the truth of what was going on here. And so they all start coming up with their own fucking conclusions, because they can't have basic understanding of, like, the concept that there's no possible way that Michael Jackson could have been a virgin if he was actually a member of the Jackson family, and he had been a star for 25 years at this time. He's been a star, all that stuff. It's impossible that Michael Jackson wouldn't have been like, my home, get on them humps, my lovely lady. lady lumps. It was impossible he wouldn't have hooked up some bitch, because like they got those lovely lady lumps. Women are fucking beautiful. There's no way that Michael Jackson could have had that kind of attention from these beautiful women and touching them, just touching them. They're soft and shit, right? Your body's going to take over. Your mind goes into a different place, right? Your mind goes into a different place. Your body starts telling you what to do. You're not thinking straight anymore. It's like drugs and shit, right? It's the same kind of fucking thing. Your mind is not thinking straight. You start doing this stuff, and then after it's over, you're like, I can't even believe I did that. My mind was, you're like, what the fuck? When you actually have those experiences, then you understand. You're like, man, I was in a different place. I was just like, man, I was just going for it and shit. That's the experiences. You would have had to have had those experiences, but Michael has not had those experiences because there's something else taking place that overrides all of the natural fucking laws and order of fucking human existence that would have existed normally in his life. And when you understand, well, he was abandoned as a child, that he wasn't fucking part of the Jackson family, and Diana told him the truth when he gets to Motown, just as he's thinking he's made this great accomplishment with his family, Diana takes that away from him. And then he had to live with that world. Now, under that fucking concept of understanding of the life of Michael Jackson, of what he would have lived, can you see the development of how it leads up to this? My story explains it. I actually explain this stuff, right? So, the main thing about what I want to say is about the Oprah thing is that in order for Oprah Winfrey to have asked Michael Jackson, a 35-year-old fucking huge star, right? A 35-year-old man. Now, go look in interviews and shit, and go find me interviews of somebody asking anybody who appears to be any form of normal person and shit. Like, you would have to be really creepy, pedophile, weird. Like, you would have to be, because if you're homosexual, that means you're having sex. Okay, so if you're acting weird and you're homosexual, well, we know you're having sex. Okay, you kind of can't technically be homosexual, because you could be attracted to somebody, but I would think that the act of being homosexual is actually performing the homosexual act. Until you actually perform the homosexual act, I don't think you're actually classified as homosexual and shit, right? So the only way for you to be actually diagnosed and clinically classified as homosexual means you have had to have performed homosexual sexual acts and shit, right? So if you see a homosexual, somebody that's really weird, you could not possibly ask that person if they're a virgin. It's not a question that ever could come up. It's not. You would have to be so creepy. You would have to be the creepiest weirdo in the fucking world for somebody to ask you if you were a virgin. That's what I'm saying, is that this question, for her to ask him this question, it's out of the norm on the highest levels of all levels, that she could ask him, are you a virgin? And now, the only way that she could have possibly have asked him is that, first of all, she saw something as weird going on with this guy, but then Oprah Winfrey, here's the other thing. Oprah's given this interview because Oprah's a huge star at this time. She was doing her daytime television. As soon as she came on her daytime television show, she became huge. She was huge and shit, right? Like, they even had all those daytime television show war battles with hundreds of people coming out making shows. Oprah constantly just dominated and rolled right through that shit as being the Oprah. She was always Oprah. She rolled past everybody. She never had any fucking problems. She's a huge star. And being that huge star, she would also have on her show, she would interview celebrities constantly, always interviewing celebrities. So it's not that she's just doing shows about the public. She's also having celebrities. She's interacting with the Hollywood culture and all the elites and stuff, right? So Oprah had to have asked people in Hollywood about Michael Jackson having sexual encounters. Does anybody actually know anybody that Michael Jackson's had sex with? Oprah had to investigate that, or else she never could have asked that question. Oprah never could have asked that question unless she has already asked people in the Hollywood scene, do you know of anybody Michael Jackson had sex with? Like, that's actually real? Like, that is real, not these stupid groupies just making their stupid claims, because she understands that's the gossip, bullshit, fake stuff. She can clearly identify what a fake accusation is, and compared to somebody who's an actual, like, star in Hollywood, who would be like saying, like how Michael's always talking about Brooke Shields. Okay, well, Oprah's not dumb. Oprah would have seen what was taking place in Brooke Shields, and she knows Michael never had sex with Brooke Shields, that's a total lie, because Oprah would have had inside information about the details of what was actually taking place in Brooke Shields' life. And so Oprah would know that, well, that didn't happen. And then Oprah's like, well, he's not having sex with Brooke Shields. He's not even doing anything with her. And then any other girl that he hangs out with, Oprah would ask around, and they would all say, nobody's having sex with Michael. And that's how it gets to the point where she's able to ask this question. And that's what I keep trying to harp in. It's like, stop looking at the galaxy from afar. You got to dive into it to see the fucking complexity of what's taking place just on one planet like Earth in that galaxy. Look at how much complexity and diversity is taking place just on Earth inside of the one galaxy. We're one little dot, right? That's what it is with this Michael Jackson thing. You got to look deeper to have an understanding of what is it that's going on here. Because you got to look deeper into that fucking picture to have an idea. Because that's what Oprah was doing. She was asking around to people, what is going on here? Because this guy's not having sex. How is it possible? Right? And so that's when you get to the point where she asks him, are you a virgin? It's like that. How does this question ever come about? Because it's not possible that and that's what Michael even says. After she asks him the question, what is Michael's response? How could you ask me that question? What's his response? How the fuck could you ask me that question? That's his response. What was his response? What words did he say? How could you ask me that question? How could you ask me that question? And it's like, and Oprah didn't want to tell him the truth and say, well, because I've been asking around Hollywood. I've been asking all these women and stuff and these people that you hang out with, these people you say that you're in love with. Oprah's like, I've asked them and they've all told me that they're not having sex with you. And there's nothing like that, right? That's how it happens.
Yeah, I think the press loves to just start trouble like that. I mean, again, do not read the tabloids, please. It's crazy.
So really quick, right there, he brings up the tabloids, right? And so now Oprah's like, okay, well, you want to bring up the tabloids here. Well, I'll ask you a question then directly then. I'll ask you. That's okay.
You go out. Do you date? Yes. Who do you date? Well, right now it's Brooke Shields. Mm-hmm. Well, we try not to just be everywhere and go. It's mostly at home. She'll come over. I'll go to her house because I don't like going out in the public.
Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With Brooke Shields?
Yes, and another girl.
And another girl? I'm going to ask you this, and it's embarrassing for me to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you a virgin?
How could you ask me that question?
How can you ask me that question? And so he says, have you ever been in love? He says, yeah. And then Oprah invokes the name. With Brooke Shields, she set him up because I bet you she had investigated into the Brooke Shields sexual relationship with Michael Jackson, and I bet you that Oprah had already known that there was no sexual relationship with Michael and Brooke, whatever. So Oprah set him up, and when Michael then lied to her, then she came out and said, well, you're going to lie to me, and you're telling me not to believe the tabloids. Here you are. I'm going to ask you a question directly out then, because I want to know the answer to this. I'm just going to directly ask you, are you a virgin? She straight out asked him. And what does he say? How could you ask me that question? You're not allowed to ask me that question. I will not answer that fucking question because there's a bigger story here that he can't talk about. Okay? So I just wanted to fucking get into that a little bit and show you guys that within the complexity of this one question, it actually exposes all of the dynamics. It opens up the Michael Jackson universe, and you get to see from the creation of the universe, like the Jackson Pollock, you start looking at it, you start having bigger understandings, and then that's how you get to the development of understanding who the true person of Michael Jackson is that he was abandoned as a child, that his real parents are Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson, which stunted his fucking natural progression, his fucking sexual development, which leaves him to being a 35-year-old fucking virgin on the Oprah Winfrey show when she asked him and he can't even answer that fucking simple fucking question. Well, then of course I'm gonna believe the damn tabloids. If you can't even answer a straight fucking simple question, then why won't I believe what the tabloids say? Because you won't answer anything, motherfucker.